Live alone from the start. Pedro, we're live.
Great. Very happy to be here. Thanks, Kate. Finally, in a webinar of the Cha-Cha Club. So nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Pedro Vargas. I'm Brazilian. I'm currently the Research Ops lead at Banco of Brazil, or Banco do Brasil in Portuguese. Talking about the club, first of all, I need to spread the word of the Cha-Cha Club, which is a members club for full-time research ops professionals. And this, what we are doing here right now, it's Cha-Cha Talks, a regular event that gives club members a stage to share their re-ops expertise with the world. I'm a member of the club, and today we've got two amazing speakers who share thoughts and learnings around leading and managing scaled up research ops teams. This is something I really wanted to be part of, to talk about leadership and management connected with research ops. So I'm very excited to be here. But before we dive in, a word from our sponsors, User Interviews. Are you there, Erin?
I'm here. Oh, here I am. Hello. Thank you, Kate. Hi, I'm Erin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at User Interviews. If you don't know us, we're the fastest way to recruit quality participants for absolutely any kind of research. It's our honor to be here sponsoring Cha-Cha Club, where we've been a sponsor from the beginning. We love research ops. We know you are the absolute glue that makes everything function in terms of research and insights in organizations. So really our privilege to be here sponsoring. Thanks so much.
Amazing to have you here. Thank you so much. And let's go. As I told you before, we're discussing today about leadership. And in my point of view, it connects with us because ReOps is an emerging discipline, and teams of one, which we see a lot in the companies, they dominate the profession. But the profession is also fast maturing, and teams of one are becoming sophisticated teams of 10 or more. In my case, in Banco of Brazil, we are 5 now. So it makes a lot of sense to be here talking about leadership. For these larger research ops teams, new questions like how to structure a bigger team and the right mix of generalists and specialists like librarians, education, or system design experts are emerging. So our first speaker today will be Jenna. So a brief introduction of Jenna. She leads the research, analytics, and design operations teams for Workday. And in this talk, she'll share how to structure your research ops team to effectively cover foundational research needs while expanding your operations team's impact beyond the research team to add value across your organization. Getting this balance right is crucial if you want to grow your research ops team. So, Jenna, the stage is yours.
Well, hi all. Again, my name is Jenna Lombardo, and I'm looking forward to walking you through how to structure your research operations team. I'd like to start off by just getting an idea for those of you listening. How many on the call are currently teams of one? Is there a way for us to see that?
Jenna, yes. I am going to create that poll for you right now.
Great.
Everybody can answer that for you.
That'd be great.
What we can do is right at the end of your talk, we can come back to the results.
Let's do it. I'd like to know how many are teams of one, and I'd like to know how many are in this position that are looking to expand their team. Curious. All right. Thanks, Kate. A little bit about myself. Research operations is my third career, and I kicked it off with a brief stint as a researcher, but naturally gravitated towards all the operational tasks a research organization needs. Then I learned about research program management. I didn't know that something like that existed, and I loved it. So fast forward to now, and it's been almost 3 years since I started at Workday, and My initial structural model that I put together is still going strong. So let's get into it. So you've got the head count. Now what? I'm going to walk you through 5 steps to building the foundations of your research operations team. Get ready, because this talk is going to be heavy in content, right? You start by looking at the critical areas of responsibility for running a research organization. These are some examples of what those responsibilities typically look like. Do you need to recruit from niche populations, or will Gen Pop suffice? Do you have several tools and licenses that need to be managed? Are there legal and privacy hoops that you have to jump through? Are researcher expectations outlined? What templates or process guidance is needed? How are projects being resourced, tracked, and managed? These are all the basics that typically need to be covered. And I can give you an example of how I structured my team. I had one person focused on participant management, one person for contracts and procurement and operating processes, one that had more of a technical background to build our panel infrastructure and lead the relationship with our legal team, and one that was focused on building community. The research team that time was going through a rebirth and essentially new. So we had to build team culture. And Noel's going to talk more about those specialist roles too. Once you have identified areas of responsibility, it's now time to prioritize. What is the risk to the business if some of these vital tasks have no people resources assigned? Is the business okay with making trade-offs? Or perhaps you need to show the gaps over the course of a few quarters in order to build a case to secure additional headcount. These are all questions you need to think through as you prioritize and scope your first hire. You can also be creative and see if some of these responsibilities can be handled by a researcher on the team. That will help distinguish which skill sets are unique to research operations that could not be handled by someone else on the team and be your first hire. I believe you need a mixture of both specialists and generalists, but be careful not to overload responsibilities. It will lead to burnout and unrealistic expectations. And I consider a specialist to be a program manager that focuses on a particular area of expertise, like recruitment or a librarian. As an example for you all, I recently went through an exercise refining the roles across my team and landed on 3 categorizations. And they're all mouthfuls, so I apologize. Strategic Initiative Operations Leads, Focal Operations Leads, and Horizontal Operations Specialists. Strategic Initiative Operations Leads act as strategic partners to leadership. They drive efficiency and alignment across their respective teams. Focal Operations Leads provide dedicated support to teams within specific areas. Horizontal operations specialists ensure the smooth execution of projects that span across the entire organization. There is no one cookie cutter team structure for operations. It is all unique to the needs of your organization. And as a reminder, I lead research, analytics, and design operations. So these roles cover all operational support across the 3 disciplines. Now you've identified the scope of your new hires and the major needs of the business are covered. There is a natural shift from putting out fires to forward-thinking improvements. That leads us to step number 2. Move from being reactive to proactive. For example, you can identify opportunities to optimize workflows, improve efficiency, and increase research impact. How can you help evangelize research's big wins? As you do this, track your impact. And that leads us to step number 3. Research operations is oftentimes considered an extra or a nice to have. It is critical to have some sort of impact tracking to easily share value. Our research analytics and design VP, Tammy, always refers to our team as force multipliers. I try to provide the metrics and wins to show it. There are many flavors to this, but some examples are efficiency-based, cost savings-based, or project quality-based. Determine a cadence to share these wins regularly. So you've established capabilities and impactfulness to the research organization. Why stop there? Step number 4 is to think beyond the research team. Position research operations as a strategic partner to the entire organization. For example, how can the operations team support your company's SGIs? Be connected to the business goals. You can also collaborate with other departments like product, marketing, customer support to maybe create a knowledge sharing center, privacy governance, customer or user communications templates and toolkits, PMO partnerships. There is an endless amount of opportunity. Lastly, plan for the future. Think 2 to 3 years in advance. What is your ideal state? Your work back plan will help you get there. So develop a long-term roadmap for research operations growth. Align your roadmap with organizational goals and priorities. Consider future needs and challenges. For example, maybe you had a team that was heavily based on qualitative researchers, and now leadership is expanding into quantitative, and you need the tools, etc., for them in order to be successful. Okay? Be flexible and adapt as the organization evolves. Change is guaranteed. In summary, here are my 5 key takeaways for building a successful research operations team. Prioritize foundational needs to keep the research team running smoothly. Transition from tactical to strategic operations to maximize impact. Demonstrate the value of research operations to secure ongoing investment. Expand your reach beyond the research team to become a strategic partner, and build a roadmap for the future to ensure continued growth and success. And that's all. Thank you.
Amazing, Jenna. Amazing. I already have some questions here. I saw your presentation before, so I've got some questions. I don't know if the audience, if they have more questions, just send me in the chat. I'll pick 1 or 2 for our discussion. But almost right now, you've mentioned your 3rd key takeaway, which was to demonstrate the value of ResearchOps to secure ongoing investments. And I was wondering if there is any case that you can share that this impact measurement you've mentioned helped to grow the team or to make the team more robust.
Yeah. So in the case of, in my experience, I have been able to identify areas of growth based off of metrics tracking. So, and that's how we can get extra support. This is a risk. These are things that we're not able to have covered, and that's why we need extra support. For example, we needed more strategic level support for some of our directors. That was a need, and that wasn't covered by our tracking and our metrics tracking. And now we've been able to implement it and get the resources to support that effort.
Got it. And we already have a question from the audience, which is from Kyle. So the question is, when building a 2 or 3 vision and work back plan, how do you ensure alignment with the larger company goals while staying focused on the local team needs?
You can tell when you look at the company goals, you can see where they're trying to go in the future. For example, maybe you see that your company wants to grow internationally, and there's a couple key countries that they're targeting. Is your team currently conducting international research? Right? So you have to think, in 2 to 3 years, we want to have the support to handle international research. So that's allows you to plan, okay, so we need the tools. Do we have the vendors? Do we have the support needed?
Good. And a question I had before is about these new names of the position. Is horizontal, strategic, how these names were perceived by the team. How was the consequence?
We had a whole discussion. So I did co-creation with the team. And because I know that I came up with some, and I'm like, oh gosh, these are like tongue twisters. But in order to effectively communicate what these roles are in the language of the initiatives within our organization, we had to come up with those titles. It's just so people could easily understand, even though they're long, they can connect instantly with their area of responsibility.
And do they have a career ladder already? Or is it going to be the next phase of this?
That's the next phase. Yep, that's the next phase. It was identifying the roles, responsibilities, and now the career ladder. So yeah, you're right on it, Pedro.
Okay. And you've also mentioned this rebirth of the team. I'm curious, I don't know if you can share what happened there and how it has impacted the team now.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting story. Research had reported, this was at Workday, research had reported into design, and there was a separation to create 2 separate teams. And that's when we had a separate VP of research. That's when she invested in research operations, and that's the rebirth. And interesting enough, less than 2 years later, we ended up combining again. So we are now one full organization, and with analytics thrown in there too.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Oh, now I have more questions. What changed in your point of view, like this version before and the one you have now?
I like to say that I was not against, I guess I just wasn't a fan of reporting into design, because I felt like there was a misunderstanding of skill sets, etc. And that's one of the reasons why I joined Workday, because it was a separate research team and we had our own VP. However, our research VP has now taken over design. So it's no longer a big hurdle that I thought it would be, because we have a leader that really does understand research, its needs, the value that research operations brings. So it's been a great place. And so my opinion has changed.
Okay, we're living for this to get our opinions changed. mainly in ResearchOps. Like
Yeah.
that's my routine basically.
Yeah, and it just
So
goes to show how every organization is so different. It's just very, very different, and different things work.
yep. And you're going to see how things are different right now because we have the results from the poll.
Mm.
So we have this 57% saying no. We have teams of more than one person.
Wow.
You were expecting that or not?
I didn't know. I really had no expectation. So very interesting. I guess that's great, right? That we're now seeing these larger teams, and organizations are investing in this craft.
Great. And let's celebrate with Marjorie in the chat. She said her team went from 7 to 8 today. So
Ah,
really
great.
nice to see teams of ResearchOps growing even more. Very nice. So Jenna, that was it. Do you have like a brief message? I think that people cannot forget about everything you have shared right now. A tweet, maybe.
I would say that there's so much value in investing in research operations and investing in larger teams. Because again, using Tammy's words, we're force multipliers.
Very nice. Thank you so much. It was great. Maybe if we have time in the end, we can do a Q&A, everyone together, or this brief discussion. I don't know if Kate's going to enjoy that, but if we have time, I'm open to do that.
I'm always up for it, Pedro. You should know that.
Great.
And
Let's move on.
Jenna, we had a number of people come in and say they just went from 7 to 8. David's got 5 in his team. Kristen's got 5. I'm blown away by that. That's fantastic. So very, very cool to see these bigger teams coming through.
Amazing. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Jenna. Let's move on for our next speaker. I'll have the pleasure to introduce you Noel Lamb. She's the Senior Manager of ResearchOps for ServiceNow, and she's going to share with us her strategies for leading large ResearchOps teams and how to navigate the transition from generalist to specialized roles as the team grows. She'll share why you need specialized programs and the importance of having a clear vision to shape them. Through real-world examples, she will highlight effective practices that drive teams' expertise and organizational success. Noel, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Pedro. And hello, everybody. Today, I'll be talking to you about specialized roles within the already specialized practice of research ops. So thank you so much for being here today and making time to explore what it means to unlock the niche within the niche of research ops. So hello, I'm Noel Lamb. I am a lot of things, but I am also a Senior Manager of ResearchOps at ServiceNow, where I manage 11 very special pros within a ResearchOps team of 15, where we support an org of over 100 researchers. So it's a huge operation. I started this role less than 6 months ago, but I'm not new to ResearchOps. I've been in the space, I'm going to age myself, since 2009. And I started leading ResearchOps teams about 7 years ago. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur here, but I'm still learning and I still love it. I'm not going anywhere. And also, I just wanted to mention that anytime I get to do a presentation for fun, I'm going to find a way to fit some plants in because I love them and it's fall here in Mare, and sometimes that's all the reason I need for plants. You should see my house. We've been talking about this quite a bit already, but I think, you know, for those of you who are a team of 1, or maybe even a team of 2 or 3, you are painfully aware of the many hats and expectations you wear every day. You are a generalist, and sometimes you can't even breathe. Sometimes you can't even go to the bathroom, which is very unhealthy. So you got to find a way to schedule that in, please. Your bladder will thank you. You kind of do it all. You might be recruiting, managing renewals, tooling admin, running team meetings, setting up a repository, troubleshooting, all of that good stuff. And all of these activities that might fall into the world of a generalist, you're doing them all at once. And every day might look a little bit different, but everything still seems to land on your plate. And then when your organization becomes larger and more mature, the volume of what you're working on increases. It's natural. There are more people to support and they have more needs, and probably very new and different needs too. I think I might cry when I, imagine an organization with 100 researchers and 1 ops person. So I won't even go there. But even if you have 3 or 4, a generalist model is harder to make sense in an org of that size because it's not obvious who's working on what. And, researchers might not know who to go to. And in this hypothetical world that is a nightmare for us, you could just find yourself in a situation where there's too many cooks trying to do the same thing, and it's probably more confusing than it needs to be. So moving to a specialist model starts to make sense when the volume of what you're working on and the number of people you're working with grows. But, at some point, you crawl your way out of crisis mode. You solve the team's most burning needs. You start to optimize your own processes, and maybe you get a little bit of the luxury of time back in your day. You can begin to look up and out a little bit more than you have in the past. And I think at this stage, it is probably a little bit murky, but you become less of trying to be all the things, and it becomes more about leveraging your own strengths and interests to deliver value to the team in new and specific and useful ways. One last thing I'll say about this, I think it's a gross generalization, and I'm not a researcher and I don't have any data to back this up, but I feel like as humans, we just need to make categories. I think when things start to get overwhelming, people naturally start to label and compartmentalize things. I don't think we can help it. It's like a coping mechanism, and it's just what we do. If you go into any grocery store, probably anywhere, you're going to look around, you're going to see your bakery items over here, your cold dairy is over there, your meat department is in one area. Otherwise it's just a jumbled mess. It's how we think as humans, and it's how we make sense of the world around us. So think about that too when you're imagining your ops practice. So as your team's maturity grows, maybe your research leader presses you to think a little bit more strategically about your space. Maybe you've had this little list somewhere that you've been keeping of things you want to do, but you haven't been able to get to. You can start to make the case for how your operations can grow. And maybe you get headcount, and you kind of have to figure out exactly how you're going to split the work up. And you start being able to go to the bathroom, which is great. And this is the best time. This is a fun time. And you might get to be a little bit more creative about how you're adding value, and you have the luxury of growing in new ways. You get to have a vision. You get to plan years out and not just weeks. So this is what growth looks like beyond a team of 1. Jenna's talk was all about the practical steps on how to get there. But now that you're there in our hypothetical dreamland, let's talk about the people or the talents or the functionality that you can hire for. So your research ops team may never get to be a 15-person team, and that's okay. I think that this talk can still help you imagine what it looks like at 2 or 3 or 4 more when defining specialties begins to make more sense for your particular situation. But to get there, you have to start by having a clear vision, right? You can't do it without knowing what you're going to do. And this is where your specialties start to get shaped. So not only is your team maturing, but you as an individual, you are also maturing. And your team matures, and like it's just like it's so cool. The growth is so cool when it happens. So use this time when you find yourself in this situation to imagine the possibilities. You're in an organization with 100 researchers. You have a healthy ratio of ops. How would you scale it? If you could do anything, how would you do it? And like has been said, in other conversations today so far, over time, I learned that what works best for each organization isn't the same thing that works the best at every organization. Your team is unique, and you and the position that you are in, you innately already have ideas about what it needs. So I'm going to share a few real life examples, because I think this is the most fascinating part of talking to other people in research ops. So I'm going to give you some ideas about what an org of specialists have looked like in my journey so far. So it was a very, very super fun time, very special time in my career. I joined Robinhood to establish research ops, and I really learned, and really fast, what it meant to lead during a period of extreme growth. If I've ever interviewed with you, like this slide might look a little familiar because this is in my portfolio deck. So it's fun to revisit for you, repeat. But at Robinhood, I came into the team with 2 direct reports who they were working pretty reactively, but they were already in the early stages of dividing up work by their preferences. So we had a good baseline for what came next. I did a listening tour, wrapped my head around what the team needed ahead of a massive growth spurt. The head of research was aligned with the strategy, and off to the races. So I learned a lot about hiring for a well-rounded team. And it does seem a bit like a dream, when I look back on it now. Hold on, everybody, was given 4 headcount at the same time. And it felt like a dream come true. But I was in a startup, so I needed to hire fast. Otherwise, I could have lost those heads, right? And for me personally, something that I learned over time is teams that are different, teams that bring a little bit of spice and have diverse perspectives and diverse backgrounds. I really do believe that makes the team stronger. And that's exactly how I hired in this situation as well. So participant logistics, no brainer. Started there with 3 folks for a team of about 30 researchers, if I'm remembering correctly. 1 person was focused on managing tools and suppliers. 1 person was focused on programs that helped increase research visibility across the company. Yeah, we were presenting research across the whole company, which is pretty amazing. And then team care and development. So that was an area that was focused on creating structure around our team rituals and training. And I'm going to expand here for a minute. A big component of team care and development included onboarding, which was so important because the research team was still growing at a breakneck speed. So for this specialty, I hired an educator who was transitioning from working in the school to working in tech. And she brought her education experience to our programs, where she developed, I think it was a 6-week structured onboarding experience where our new hires not only learned about the fintech industry, they learned about every aspect about what it meant to be a researcher and do research there. They also connected with other researchers who were also new. They had lightweight sessions to share their own learnings during onboarding, so they were establishing their own connections. And the whole program was built on adult learning principles. So it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous program. So this kind of diversity and specialization, even though Robinhood is not like this big corporation, and it wasn't at that time either, like that specialization is what helped our team be so strong and collaborative and kind and like everything you want in a team. I'm like gonna get choked up thinking about that team. It really did. The magic of that set our researchers up for an amazing and a well thought out onboarding experience. So that time in my career really helped shape how I think about casting every single team that I'm a part of. So a little bit about today, where I'm at today. We have some really, really exciting and unique roles where I'm at now at ServiceNow. Like I mentioned, this is a team of 15 ops supporting a research group of 130 researchers. So a team this size has the same foundational needs of a smaller org, but we're also leading in the industry with some super cool, super niche functions. So the majority of our team is focused on customer engagement, which is a specialty of its own, and one you're probably very well familiar with. We've already talked about it today, but I see this as really the bread and butter of research ops teams. But in our B2B environment, participant recruitment is so nuanced and challenging. And at the core, this program management role is responsible for engaging the right participant. And a lot of times it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So this group also focuses on projects that help bring future participants to the program, like internal partnerships, marketing events, creating frictionless ways for participants to get into study and all that. So shout out, because I know there's a bunch of people from the team on this call now. Thank you so much for all the work you do every day to make sure that our researchers have people to talk to. Business process is another super foundational specialty. Jana is our vendor engagement, budget management, renewals, research advocate, a little bit of everything specialist, and we simply could not exist without her, there's no doubt. So ServiceNow is a technology company. We have an incredible technology. You can do a lot on it. And so for the last couple of years, our team has had an information systems engineer on it. And this is a person who is skilled in our company's technology. So he's an admin, he's also a developer, and he helps us leverage our technology for our research needs. He sets up instances so we can demo and test UX quality on our own platform, which is pretty magical. He also helps us in our implementations and integrations, and really anything super technical goes to our person there. His name is Miguel. I also work with two incredibly talented individuals who are focused on delivering on our communication strategies. So this team partners with our executives to help visualize their stories within the organization and beyond. They're also responsible for surfacing important insights up, across, and out, as well as enabling our researchers with access to templates and anything else, that they need comms-wise. So this was actually my first hire after joining ServiceNow, but our team recently invested in a brand new role, Research Communications Manager, which I'm highlighting here because this is a role that in the research ops community we've talked about. I've heard, mutterings and discussions about this role and how cool it would be to close the loop with our customers and share insights back with the people who participated in research. So this is not something that exists everywhere, but it's something that we are figuring out here now. And it is so, so exciting. It's so cool. So yeah, we're still in the early stages of sorting out exactly what this program looks like. So keep an ear out for a future talk on this topic. One of the functions, I love this plant. I'm sorry, I love this plant. It reminds me of Hawaii. So one of the functions I am the most excited to introduce today is secondary research. And I would be really curious in the chat to hear if other people have this function at their orgs. I'm not involved in it at all. It doesn't take up any of my day job, but I love it. Our researchers love it. So secondary research and the people who are in this space, they're powerhouses. So they refine information that is already published and out there in the world to help researchers understand or build upon what they know about a topic. So our amazing team that does secondary research has seats to major analyst firms like Gardner and Forrester, et cetera. And they help curate that information so that our researchers can inform their research or use secondary research to expand upon their insights when they're delivering it back to the product team. It's such a powerful and exciting space, and is another one I can't wait for our team to give a future talk on. Okay, a strategist. It's a new concept that I've been noodling on. I haven't really even talked to anybody on my team about this, a surprise. But the idea of this role is that it would be somebody to help us lead special projects and all of the change management overhead that comes along with it. So when you're involving a large research org like ours, I think this emerging role is pretty necessary. But we'll see how it pans out. It's new. We haven't started it yet. Like, it's just still sort of like a dream in my mind. But an example for this role would be someone, trying to help us determine how are we using AI to do a research? How could we use AI, to improve our processes and our systems? And then they might go out and actually implement it. So it could be projects that, help us reduce our operational debt. It's still very much in flight. So half-baked ideas. I wanted to, share this today because maybe it'll inspire someone out there. But altogether, these functions make a beautiful bouquet that helps our organization bloom in interesting ways and suited to the very unique needs of our large and maturing org. So I hope that this session has gotten you thinking about how you might expand your research ops team. And if not today, then hopefully someday. And if nothing else, you got to look at a few nice plants. So that's it for me. Pedro, back to you.
Wow, really nice to see this presentation. And of course, you have reunited plants, fans of plants. Here in the chat. I'm also one of them. So if you see mine here, I have a Monstera right behind me. And if you see, there's an Easter egg here, which is this. I don't know if you know this. Look.
This was not planned, people. This is magic.
It was really not planned. I've just set this up while you were speaking. Kate is laughing in the backstage for everyone, just for you to understand. The book is Kate's new book called Research That Scales, if you don't know. So the main question here is that if you know the names of all the plants you have in your slides deck.
No, I don't. I wish I did.
Just kidding.
I know. I'm going to have to
kidding.
do like a Google Lens search or something, but you should see my desktop. Like, I have all the files over here because I can't throw them away. They're so nice.
That's really nice. So now, talking seriously, my main question for you is that you have mentioned a lot of processes and things that should be going on in a team. People reacted when you mentioned the ratio and how many people who do research and all those things. But my question is, what's out there that nobody sees that you do in your job, like behind the curtains?
Oh my gosh. Me personally, as a leader of the team, I do a lot of planning, like drafting. So I've got a Miro board, it's a scratch sheet. It is like where I get to just kind of throw up my ideas and think about how I might change the team or like enrich the team, or we might like, we're planning now. So 2025 is right around the corner. And so like, if we're taking new things on, how does that impact the team? Like I mentioned, this project around AI and like figuring out, like, we can't not do that. Like, AI is here, it's now, like it will help us be better and work better. And I spend a lot of time like visualizing, because that's how my mind works. I need to see it. how I can make that happen. How can we as a team make that happen? And what needs to happen to our organization in order for it to make sense? And who's going to do it, right? Like, we have incredible talent on our team. Like, these people work so hard. They're so smart. But like, you know, not everybody can work on this. Again, like, this is why generalist models sometimes, like, we can't have everybody working on it. So anyways, I think that's the thing for me in my role as a leader on this team. I spend time doing that and thinking about that. Operational debt wise, like, there's a lot that this team is managing, you know, through their projects. Like, a very simple example that probably every team has done at some point, which is like our comms. Like, look at our comms. Measure our comms. Like, are our comms effective? Are they exciting? Are they getting people into our research program? Like, great, let's reevaluate and iterate and see how we could make that better. And so, like, that's an example of operational debt that I think probably exists for everybody here.
Okay, I'll jump to the other question, which connects. You have mentioned people and functions. So we have a question here in the chat from Madison. And the question is, which functions came first? And if you could go back and reorder them, would you?
See, this is a hard question because I've only been there for 6 months. So, I mean, my gut on this, like, AJ, come off mute and tell me if I'm wrong. AJ's been there forever. I know she's on the call, but I'm pretty sure the team started in customer engagement. And I don't think that there is a world where we could have started with anything else. In my current role, right? Like, that is kind of where a lot of teams get started. Now, I can talk about Robinhood, which is maybe like a little more, I know, I'm sorry, you can't come off mute too, because I love your beautiful voice. I can talk about Robinhood a little bit. For that role, Robinhood was, at the time I was there, was a very unique space, and probably like the coolest thing about that organization is that the entire company loved research, and it came from the CEOs. There was two of them, co-CEOs. They have set that tone, and they still love research and are like going and observing research in person, and like that kind of that regard for research and the research craft, that doesn't exist everywhere. And it was so special. And so, like, I'm going to use this as an example where we had one person focused on research visibility. And that was like before really the industry started talking about research impact. But I think that's like, they're closely tied together. This person, you know, organized a program where we were presenting every single month on research, every month, to the entire company. And we would get like 30% of the company participating in these sessions, which was gobsmacking. And I think like that worked well because the environment in which we were in and the culture which we were in. Now, that type of program may not work everywhere, but I think by harnessing that, the magic that was happening in the company and the platform that she created for research, there's not a thing I would change about that at all. Like, no, probably not. There's nothing I regret or I would change about that particular situation. Thank you for the question, Madison.
Great. And before we jump to our quick panel in the end, I'd like to know from you if you have a tweet or a special message that people cannot forget after your talk here.
You know, I think I would just leave you with, don't be afraid to try something new. Like, working in ops is chaotic, and it's easy to like just make the machine go, but just remember that every day, every year that you're in this space, treat it like, oh God, I don't want to sound like an Amazon commercial and saying like, treat it like your first day. But if you have an idea about something and a change you want to make, like, try it. What do you have to lose? Yeah, it may not work out, but like, you'll learn something from it. And I think, for capabilities like this that I talked about today, there is really some amazing stuff happening in our organization because of this creativity that the team brought. And I would say, like, just go for it. Go for it. You don't need permission. I mean, you might need permission in your organization, but like, if you have these ideas, talk about it, pitch it, like, see what sticks, see if people would be interested in that kind of thing. Yeah, just go for it. Nike and Amazon, and I'm crying during the presentation. I'm not going to be welcome back.
Oh gosh, no.
Thanks for the floor, Pedro.
Oh, that was really nice. I wasn't expecting that. Let's go then. Let's do our panel. We have back Jenna, Erin, and I would like to leave the first question to Erin. We were discussing in the chat. I think she has a good question to start things out.
Yeah, hi. Maybe it's annual planning and just thinking about the future where anything is possible, right? So I'm curious to hear from you both when you think about the year ahead and the years ahead. And, of course, we have the trends of democratization, which have been talked about ad nauseum, but we are seeing, right, more powder due research in organizations. We're seeing more AI. We're seeing consolidation of platforms. We're seeing a lot of things happening. So with all of those trends, just curious what you think that will look like in terms of specialization, new roles in the year ahead, and how some of what you've shared today might change in these exciting changing times.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first, Jenna. You're probably sick of hearing my voice, but I think we're experiencing this now a little bit. We're introducing a new participant database, and we have this hypothesis that by introducing this one system that helps us consolidate multiple systems, and by leveraging the technology so that more people can self-service, that it will actually give our customer engagement team a little bit more time back in their day, so that they're not poking around fragmented systems and things would be just more streamlined. So we actually are hoping that more of our team will be able to self-service. And if you imagine, like, gosh, we have 7-8 people in this space, like, what would they do with their time? Like, imagine in a perfect world if they had like even 25% more time. And so we're thinking about, like, how does this evolve? How does this change this role? And I think, it gives us an opportunity to think more strategically about how I'll use this like as a very tactical example that people will be familiar with, but like, how do we best campaign and market our program? How do we leverage those internal partnerships? How do we get creative? And like, that stuff is happening in this role already, but I think it's just a slight shift of, we're going to invest more time there. We're going to do more of that. And in doing that, like, we work differently, right? Like, you kind of get away from the scheduling and into the more strategic stuff. And I think that is so exciting. And I think that we'll just see kind of like this snowball for research ops as a profession going forward.
Awesome. Thanks. Jenna, yeah, any thoughts from
you? I'd like you to repeat the question one more time for me.
Oh, sure. Just a broad question about the future. I'm thinking a lot about annual planning. I'm thinking about how ReOps really works with the entire org, and especially Powder, especially with all the democratization that's happening changes in how headcount's allocated across orgs, consolidation of tech tools. Sometimes there's less resourcing for tech budgets, AI, all these sorts of changes and how they might impact specialization or how you're approaching thinking about reops in the year ahead.
Yeah, for us, we are actually company is going through tooling audits and trying to find tools that can do more things. And so we're trying to plug into different types of capabilities. And maybe that means governance, maybe that means providing templates, et cetera. And that's how we can support the powders at scale. Is headcount is difficult to come by. And when we get it and we prove our case, it's very exciting.
Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, Aaron, for a question. Like we have 3 more minutes to go. I'd like to ask from Jenna and Noel if you have any book, movie, series, content in general, recommendations for leadership, so people can get into this vibe even more, so we have more great leaders in ResearchOps teams. Like in 30 seconds.
Yeah, Kate's book. I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit in the chat.
That's obvious.
And, like, it's so obvious, but I can't not say how good it was and is. Something that's helped me in this space is a program called Better Up. It's where you get a professional coach and they kind of help you hone your skills and opportunity areas. And if you can get your company to pay for it, even better. But that has been a game changer for me.
There's I'm going to piggyback off of what Noel said. To be honest, I just had my 3rd baby, so I have a 5-month-old at home, and I'm not getting any reading done. As much as they are sitting on my desk, collecting dust. So someday I'd like to get back into reading, but I think that there's a lot of great programs like the Strengths Finders. There's one that we did at LinkedIn. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. And it was such a good, it was, it'll come to me. But I think those are great when you look at your team too, not only your personal development, but when you have your team do it too. Then you can see how you're similar and areas that you can further develop.
Really nice. Thank you so much for your time, for the great content here. We have came into the final moments of this Cha-Cha talk. I don't know if it's the last one in the year. Kate is going to give me a feedback. Okay, it's the last one. Okay.
It is the last one. Yeah.
Okay.
This has been sponsored by User Interviews, and we're going to be doing some interesting things in the future with User Interviews. But this is the last Cha-Cha talks for now, at least.
Okay. So you have joined the last Cha-Cha talk of the year. This video will be posted on YouTube, so it gets easier for you to watch on your TV and your cell phone if you want it within the next week. And remember to follow Cha-Cha Club on LinkedIn. Everything is posted there. We have a poll there to ask you about how do you, what types of content do you prefer? And will be really nice for you to vote there, give your feedback there. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to host an event like this in English. For the ones who don't know, my main language is Portuguese, so it was quite challenging to be here. And I just have to thank Kate and everyone for being here. That's it. See you soon. Bye-bye.